Hello. I'm going to try posting this flipped assignment over a video on my notebook. I haven't done this before, so we'll see how it goes. I told you that we were doing Landforms Part I earlier this week, and as promised, here's the second part, Landforms Part II. So, whenever there's something that's one, there's always going to be something that follows. We're going to talk about different landforms that we talked about earlier, and I'm going to try to use my iPad to show pictures because as you can see, if I used words, my maps are backwards. The words on my shirt are backwards. I discovered that my camera on my notebook records text backwards. So I'm going to use pictures in this flipped assignment, and let's see what we think about that. Now, landforms are important to our project currently because landforms impact what resources are available for people and animals to use. It also impacts where people would want to settle. We saw in the first lesson on landforms that a lot of times people want to settle in regions that have rivers or lakes, and they also like large flat plains because that gives us room to spread out. But there's other factors that cause people to choose where they want to live over others, and I think we should look at these other landforms and see what we think. I'm going to try to use this iPad. I constructed a PowerPoint. Now, because it makes things backwards, I'm going to have to see if this will work. It's like pointing a mirror at a mirror. Landforms Part II. While we go over the slideshow, you might remember some of the other landforms we looked at. Mountain, river, plateau. Remember, plateau is plateau. You might remember that we looked at lake, plain. Now we're going to look at a few others. Here's the entry slide to my presentation because I wasn't able to write Landforms Part II because it would be backwards. So I took this picture of the Grand Canyon in Arizona. Canyon is going to be one of the features we talk about in this flipped lesson. The Grand Canyon is a canyon. But first we're going to talk about deltas. This is a picture of the delta, albeit it is backwards. This is the Nile Delta in Egypt. And the way you can tell a delta apart from anything else is a delta is a river's outlet to the ocean or a large body of water. So here we have the Nile River snaking upward through the country, up into Egypt. And up here at the top here, next to the Sinai Peninsula, we have it fans out and it empties into the Mediterranean Sea, which is this region up here at the top. A delta is going to be any river's outlet to the ocean or a large lake or any other large body of water. Sometimes they can be a single outlet or they can fan out and become triangular shaped like this. In fact, delta is a Greek letter, and the letter is triangle shaped, just like this delta here. Here is a picture of the Grand Canyon. Now you might be saying, Miss Narvaez, this is a picture of a mountain, or this is a picture of a plateau, or look, there's a river down there. This is a picture of a river, and you would be right. But this is also a picture of a canyon. A canyon is a large cut in the Earth's surface, usually made by running water, very strong, turbulent water. And you might say, well, Miss Narvaez, this river is pretty small. It doesn't look strong enough to have been able to carve a canyon. But at one point in time, this river may have been strong enough to cut rock. So you can see there's the river. The canyon is the actual cut or chasm in the earth. And then you can see in the background we have some plateaus and mountains. Oops, went backwards. That would match the theme of the rest of this video. Come on, technology. There we go. You're probably familiar with this landform. This is called a dune. Dunes can be formed by wind or water, and it's accumulation of sand grains over time. Dunes have several faces to them. You can see a striped face right here where the sand is moving, and then a flat, smooth surface on the other side. Dunes, once they're created, are typically pretty stationary, although you can see growth of dunes over long periods of time. All right, what are we looking at here? This is a picture of an ocean. Now, the planet Earth has 5 distinct oceans that we talk about, but those are more regional names. You have the Pacific, the Atlantic, the Indian, the Arctic, and the Antarctic oceans. These oceans are actually all connected, and so essentially they form one large global ocean. The way that you can tell in a picture of an ocean, to be able to tell it's not a large lake, is you have to know a lot about the surrounding area. Now, to me, this picture of the United States is backwards. So I actually had to go find a picture of the United States that had been flipped and put it on this slideshow so that to you it is frontwards. I'm just showing this picture of the United States just to show where some of our landforms are occurring. So here we have in Texas, we live right about here. Your canyons occur a lot over here, especially the Grand Canyon's located about here in Arizona. A lot of desert environments, sandstones, those type of rocks. There's a distinct delta that leads off into the Gulf of Mexico down here where the Mississippi drains. So the Mississippi runs down alongside these states here, comes down and drains and dumps sediment, minerals, and sometimes pollution into the Gulf of Mexico. Let's look at the rest. We have on the west side the Pacific Ocean. Oops, sorry, this is flipped in my video. This is the east side. This would be the Atlantic Ocean. Over here is the west side, the Pacific Ocean. Dunes. The closest large dunes that we have near us are the Monahan Sandhills over in Monahans right about here. But some large dunes occur in the southwest and the western portions of the United States. Alright, this picture of Uncle Sam pointing at you is supposed to imply that we're going to do a quick little test. Let's see what you think. Can you name these landforms? I'll give you a second to think about this. This is one that we had before in Landforms Part I. You can see a little river. You can see some mountains, but what am I trying to get you to look at? Do you see the V shape? What is it? A valley. Very good. Here's one that we had been looking at earlier. It's flat, plain looking. People like to settle there. A plain. My technology does not want to cooperate today. There we go. What is this a picture of? It is a body of water surrounded by land on all sides. What do you think it could be? It's a lake. A lake is a body of water with land surrounded on all sides. Thank you. Hold on just a second. Thank you.
Were you looking for it?
Nope. Miss Hart's son was returning an iPhone charger, so thank you to the 5th grader who unwittingly loaned an iPad charger to Miss Hart's son. What is this a picture of? Come on, I know you want to say it. Plateau is... Don't hold back, just say it. Ah, you feel so much better now. Here's a picture. This should be easy. You may be asking, Miss Narvaez, why are you even putting this picture in the slideshow? A river. Very good. Now, what are we looking at here? A large lake? A river? An ocean? It's a body of water of some kind. This is a picture of an ocean. You can see it's a shallow part. You can see the marine life underneath the surface of the water, but it is a picture of the ocean. I'm feeling impatient with my iPad today. Does this ever happen to you? You know what this is. Think Arabian Nights and camels. This is actually a picture of a dune. This is probably a Kalahari dune or another dune in either southern or northern Africa, either a Saharan or a Kalahari dune. An accumulation of sand grains over time, moved by wind and water. Here's the one that's a little bit tricky. It's a satellite image of a river dumping its sediment and other elements into the ocean. Did you say delta? This is a picture of a delta emptying the contents of a river into the ocean. What about this picture? There's two things I'm asking you to look for here. What's in the foreground? This region right here. A plain. What about up here? You can see, is it a plateau? Is it flat? No. These are mountains. That's the end of the slideshow. Now, for your flipped assignment, what I want you to do is go onto Google Earth and find an example of one of these landforms. So you might pick canyon or dune or delta, but I want you to find an example. And then on Edmodo, say in the comment section to turn in what your landform was and your example. So if I picked the Grand Canyon as my example, I would say canyon. Example, Grand Canyon in Arizona. Now you may not use the Grand Canyon as an example because I already did, and what fun would that be? So be sure to look for, hold on just a second.